Oh, I assume everything is working. If you're watching this live, we're glad you're here. Our producer Andy is in Mexico, and he's the one who usually presses all the buttons. And now he's in, I think, a lazy river infinity pool something on the Baja
And why he
Peninsula.
couldn't press the button from there, we have no
I
idea.
We
Well,
have no idea. He's usually so
that's true too.
capable.
That's true
But
too.
here we
Yeah.
go. We
Okay.
are ready to go. Welcome to How to Split a Toaster, a divorce podcast about saving your relationships from True Story FM. Today, how do you navigate the ghost toaster living rent-free in your post-divorce psyche?
Welcome to the show, everybody. I'm Seth Nelson. As always, I'm here with my good friend, Pete Wright. Today, we're talking about something that every divorcing couple has to face, whether they want to or not. It's not the lawyers or the court or even the money. It's the house. The place is filled with memories, routines, holiday decorations, pencil marks on the doorframe, and maybe even a ghost or two. It's the third character in your divorce, and deciding what to do with it can be just as complicated as ending the marriage itself. Nanette Murphy is a divorce and life transition coach who works with women navigating the emotional and logistical minefield of divorce. She's here to talk us through what it really means to let go, not just of the property, but of the life once held. Nanette, welcome to the toaster.
Hello, Seth. Hello, Pete. Thank you very much for having me. I've never been in a toaster before.
That's the first time anybody's ever noticed that they're actually in a toaster. Glad to have you
I'm
here.
in a toaster.
So
Thank you.
we're talking about I guess if we're going to boil it down, make it the most simple, we're talking about stuff. But really, what we're talking about is what happens when the family home becomes a focal point in divorce negotiations and the emotional significance of shared spaces. And in your work as a divorce coach, I wonder if you could set the table with how you help your clients get into a mindset where they can navigate what is a sticky emotional process.
Yeah, this is definitely a big challenge, especially with the women that I coach. They are over 40, over 50, raised a family in their home, likely been in there 20, 25 years, and they don't want to let go of the house. And I really a big advocate for just let it go.
Mm-hmm.
Just let it go. Because, and I say that because I went through it myself. You know, there was a time when I was like, I'm not leaving my house. I'm not leaving it. We spent many years building it and all this, the memories. And the unfortunate part is I can't say to them, just let it go, you'll be fine. It's got to be a process that they discover. Like, why do I want to be sitting here with all these memories?
Mm-hmm.
And for me, it just hit me one day. I can't live here anymore. I don't want these four walls around me anymore. And the most freeing moment in my life at that time was when I moved out and when I had my own space. And that was really when the healing could start beginning. I mean, we were still going through our divorce and all of that, but it's very challenging. And that is why I really encourage women to work with a coach, because it's not something that happens overnight. You have to really talk it through. And yeah, those memories are tough.
Yeah.
You don't let go of the memories. You're just letting go of the wallpaper and the paint on the walls.
Well, I think the thing you said about letting go in your own personal experience is keeping the house at some levels is looking backwards.
Yeah,
But when you get
absolutely.
to your new space, it's looking forward.
Mhm.
This is mine. You can set it up any way you want. You always wanted to keep, the pizza cutter in the drawer in
Yeah.
this space and not the other space and not the other
Yeah.
drawer. You can put the pizza
Yeah.
cutter in any drawer you want now.
Yeah.
So
Was a pizza
Or
cutter a big thing for you, Seth?
no, it's just one of those things that I
It's
haven't
just
eaten pizza in a while, and I was thinking about pizza, and it
where
oh,
that
there
popped
you
came
into
go.
my
from.
head.
I love that. I love
It's
that.
funny though.
Or you can leave the pizza cutter behind and buy yourself a new one, maybe
That's
in a
right.
pretty
Oh,
color that you like
Or
better.
we could say you can put the toaster anywhere you want in your new kitchen.
yeah.
Exactly. Absolutely.
The
Absolutely.
thing that's interesting to me about this is that it is, I mean, we generally try not to have very gendered conversations on the show.
Yeah.
Divorce is divorce, but obviously divorce hits people in different ways. And you started this by saying this impacts women more, women, particularly the women in your client base. And it made me think, I have this sort of avatar couple, these dear lifelong friends who went through a divorce, and he kept the house. And the first thing he did was just take down all of the pictures that had her in it. She moved into a totally new space and completely redecorated and is now completely hers. And I wonder if they are just living out a stereotype. Is that kind of what you see? How does this hit men?
I don't coach men, so what I've
Well, that's telling, right? They don't ask for help. Men are so
right.
dumb.
No, but the other thing that I've noticed in the women that I coach, again, we're over 40, over 50, sometimes over 60, and it almost becomes a fight out of principle that, a lot of times he doesn't want her to have the house because he wants the house, just because he doesn't want her to have it, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So I really, so there's a couple past clients who, when I first said, why don't you just consider moving and finding a new fresh start location? And the initial reaction was, no, I don't want my kids to have to move. No, I love the neighborhood. No, I love my neighbors and all the people in it. And all of them eventually moved.
Mm-hmm.
All of them eventually, and within a year, not 5 years later.
Yeah.
It was just
and from a
right thing
divorce
to do.
perspective, if you're going to move within that year, be careful keeping that house, because if you
Absolutely.
keep it and then you sell it, you've now taken on all the closing costs
Yep.
with that sale.
Yep.
And maybe, and look, and I'm not saying if the market went up or down, I'm not giving, real estate
Yep.
Timing advice.
Thank you, Pete. But I know closing costs, if you sell it during the pendency of the divorce or as part of the divorce decree or marital settlement agreement, those are usually going to be split. I mean, you can negotiate those one way or the other. So just be careful about that. But Pete, you did mention something about when is it stereotypical what men do and women do. And this must have been at least 10 years ago. I read an article. I don't even think it was a study. I think the article cited to a study that said, what do divorced men spend their money on immediately after, and what do divorced women spend their money on immediately after? And that was very stereotypical. Guys were buying
examples,
flat screen TVs, anything with electronics,
bigger, better, everything his wife wouldn't let him have, motorcycles, sports cars.
I don't know this for certain, but there might have been a reference to pool tables. I mean,
that checks out.
So, and then for the women, it was what they classified, as I remembered in this article many, many years ago, was like decorating, kind of getting the house in order, right?
Yeah.
So it was very kind of telling to the conversation today.
Absolutely. One thing you mentioned, Seth, was when you decide if you're going to keep the house, make sure you're going to keep it for more than 5 years. And that is why. Like, if you're going to just sell it in a year to 3 years, just rip the bandage off now and move forward, as hard as it is to do. And then it's not just from emotional standpoint, it is from the financial standpoint. And that was one of the things that I really, one of the first people that I send my clients to is a financial advisor, is someone that can help them make these big decisions. Because again, a lot of women in that age bracket don't have a lot of knowledge of their finances. And I always tell them, don't be hard on yourself. It's the age we came from. But it's not too late. Like, we can start this now.
Oh, it's a learned skill. We've had many professionals on here that work with men and women to learn their finances. That's easy to do.
Yeah, absolutely. And not necessarily, in my previous, I always call it the previous administration. One of my girlfriends tagged it that way. He was the investor, but I was the day-to-day pay. I knew the day-to-day, and he was never good with managing money day to day. So it doesn't matter what stage you're at,
Yeah.
who you are. I don't care if you're the president or CEO of a company. You don't necessarily know how to manage money. So it's definitely a learned behavior, but one that you need. Like you really should know.
Let's assume that we're talking to a spouse that needs to stay in the home, right?
Mm-hmm.
That they for some reason or another they can't move. Because I think so much of this conversation about sort of the third character of divorce presumes that you have to approach outliving the ghosts that live there with you.
Mm-hmm.
And when you're faced with this, working with your clients, how do you help them process and move to the other side of that while they're in the middle of a contentious divorce, not necessarily able to even see 5 years down the road?
Right. So you're saying they're going to stay in the house and they have to, okay, so they're in the house. One of my clients did this. I said, okay, if you want to stay in your house, teenagers, neighborhood, all of that, change the look, change the bedroom you sleep in, change the wall colors, buy some new bedding, get a new chair, like make a little cozy room in your house that's just for you. It doesn't have to cost a lot. Put some artwork up that makes you feel calm and comfortable. Put some, I'm a big incense and oils.
Change the
Burn
smells.
that. Just change anything you can that will give you just a new sense of yours.
And some of these things you're discussing aren't expensive.
No, they're not. I actually have a book. It's called Start With You and Then Work on Everything Else. And it really is what you do. Like self-care is really important in my practice, because I don't mean, get your nails done once a week or, go to get a massage. It is, what do you do for yourself every day? Mm-hmm. You get up and either pray or meditate. People get kind of freaked out when you say meditation, but it's really just sitting quietly. It's just really learning to breathe and taking that moment, but having that space in your house that just gives you 5 minutes of calm. Mm-hmm. And those are the things that I will tell my clients, that if you must stay, if you choose to stay, please don't stay in the same bedroom, in the same bed, get in the same sheets. Like those are, I think, mentally challenging situations that you can really,
I cannot imagine. And I'm not divorced, and so the biggest nightmare for me is the idea of imagining my friend who is divorced and didn't change bedrooms and starts dating again. How do you possibly bring someone new to the same bedroom and the same bed?
So in my previous life, we have a cottage. The cottage is now mine. This cottage had 2 master bedrooms. We would always go into the one on the right.
Yeah.
I brought
now you're a lefty
partner. Exactly. Yeah. I'm like, I'm not sleeping in that bedroom.
Yeah.
It's just, and now we're on the left-hand side. But those little things, really can help you mentally adjust to that, your new normal. I unfortunately have one client. Actually, we're not working together anymore because she wasn't ready to continue. She was sleeping on her couch. She didn't even sleep in her bedroom.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh my gosh, honey, you've got to sleep in your bed, because she had 5 kids in the house. I'm like, how do your kids feel about that? Like, mom just sleeps on the couch
some sort of
every
transient
night.
in your own home.
Yeah, and it just makes me sad when I can't. I don't want to say convince, but let them know that these are little. It might be hard, absolutely. I'm not saying.
Yeah, that's what I was about to say. It sounds very simple, right?
No, it's not though.
It's just the opposite. The brain is an amazing thing. So
it's
complex.
So, yep, and I'm actually going to introduce this into my practice. It's something new that I've got an idea from someone, and it's a desk bell. And I want to give my clients a desk bell. And when you have a win, whether it's getting out of bed in the morning and taking a shower, or you're going to go to the gym for the first time, I want you to ring that bell. Mm-hmm. I want you to hear that chime.
Well, don't they have that cancer bell, right?
Exactly.
When you go into remission?
Exactly,
There you go.
exactly.
Ring the
So
bell.
I just thought, oh my gosh, I need to introduce this simple bell that gets rung, and maybe it's this. And I always say it's the smallest thing.
Yeah.
Again, I can remember the days when I would get up, get my daughter off to school, I'd climb back into bed, read all morning, read all day, get up and pretend that I was fully functioning all day
Functional. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
Fake
when
it till you
she
make
came
it,
home.
right?
Absolutely, yeah, absolutely.
that gets to. I mean, we're talking about the bedroom, and I think the idea of being able to sleep in a different bedroom is huge.
Mhm.
And I want to underscore, and we had an interior decorator on the show. I think it was season
Yeah.
1, Seth, right?
Uh-huh.
Yeah, a long time
It's
ago.
been a long time, but the big message there was never underestimate the power of simple redecoration to make you feel like you're in a totally new space.
Absolutely.
And bedrooms and, rec rooms or TV rooms, those you can move stuff around and feel different. Um,
Yeah.
so many memories exist
Mhm.
in one of the spaces in our homes that is really hard to move things around in, and that's the kitchen, because
Mhm.
so much love and family exists around food.
Very much
I've
so.
never thought of this actually out loud,
Mhm.
but I'm curious if your clients have trouble with cooking, kitchen stuff, eating, that
Yep.
triggers memories that are
Yeah,
jarring.
for sure. I mean, I'm the mother of three. We were a family of five. We had four dogs at one point. There was a house that was bustling, and we had people in and out all the time. And it is a daily practice that you just have to start new traditions when it comes to mealtime. Um, silly
Um,
little things.
I got to tell you, I have a solution for this. I
Yeah.
think you can have those beautiful kitchens that you've built, and maybe you're quasi even, chef, right?
Mhm. Yeah.
And you just order Uber Eats, Pete, and it solves
You're so
that problem.
predictable.
Okay.
It's funny you say
I
that,
got
Seth,
a
because
two hundred
I'm not a
thousand
cook.
dollar kitchen that is perfect for ordering Uber Eats.
Putting
I,
another
I'm right
order
there
of
with you,
killer
Seth.
burger on that marble.
I am right there with you, Seth. My daughter and I lived together. She moved in with me, and we started getting the grocery delivery. What's it called?
Service, yeah. There's a bunch of them out there.
Fresh Start, or whatever it
Yeah.
Oh
was.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, and we started doing that, and we started to cook together, and we made that our new little tradition. And it's all about reframing the way you approach it. And again, it's not something that's I did it on my own. And let me tell you, it was tough. I always
Yeah.
said it was like
Or
one
just
one
like
step forward, two steps back.
right,
Yeah.
or you go cooking for if you have kids in the house, let's say you have 3 kids, you're cooking for 5,
Yeah,
Suddenly
and
you're
then the
cooking
kids,
for one.
right, the kids
yeah.
are
Table
weekend,
for one.
right, table for one and all that stuff.
Mhm. Yeah,
You know.
yeah. But again, when you're working with a coach, and again, I wish I wish I would have had a coach. But they're the ones that like we're the ones that can give you new ideas, give you a little
Mhm.
piece of information to go, well, let's look at it this way.
It's
And
all
I've
about
had
changing perception and
a
and
hundred,
and
a hundred
and
percent.
because people hold on and you hear a lot, well, I want to keep it for the kids. Which look, I
Mm,
get it. If it's a good school district and you got to stay in the house for the school district, but to
mhm,
your point, well then have a plan. We're gonna
Mhm.
stay in the house for this long. And when you go from middle school to high school, we might move because it's a larger area,
yep,
Mhm.
right?
yep.
For
That's
where you go. So you can make a plan on this stuff. And look at
yep,
the finances. A lot of people are frequently house poor. They
yes,
they they they're putting all that money into that mortgage payment, but they don't have the ability to do the extras. But maybe if you had a smaller mortgage payment and you could take a weekend at the beach or something like that and create new
right.
memories. There's
Yeah.
different
Right.
ways to kind of handle that. But it's a very interesting concept of just focusing a show solely on how do you get past the house and the argument. And it, like you say, it starts from within. Like, don't look at
100%.
needs. And the other thing I've encouraged people to do is go look at some other houses.
Mhm.
Just
Get
go
ideas.
look,
Go
get
Zillow
some
Yeah,
ideas.
browse.
Yeah. Yeah. Get on,
Yeah.
look
yeah,
around, see what's out there because maybe something will strike you and be like, you know what? I didn't think of it this way. I know some people that have moved into condos and they love it. Other
Mhm.
people aren't condo people, but some people love it.
Yep.
They're like, I don't have the maintenance anymore.
Right.
Yeah,
Right.
I write the check
Right.
every month for my homeowner association or my condo fees, but set it and forget it. You
Yes.
know, something goes out, I don't have to deal with it.
You know what
Right.
just occurs to me
Right.
all of a sudden is that everything we're talking about is like you know desire paths, like these nature trails where
Hmm.
you have two paved sidewalks across a college campus and one worn out path of grass right between them. That's
Right.
the desire
Yeah.
paths where everybody wants to go. We all
Yes.
have desire paths in our lives, like in our
Mhm.
homes, how we walk around our homes,
Yep.
how we cook, how we move, where we put stuff. It seems like what I'm hearing is if we just change things enough that forces us to create a new desire path, we can
Mm,
rewire our brains around
that's right.
some
Yes.
of the emotions.
You
Absolutely.
can basically
And that
do
is
what
possible.
the college campuses never do is just
Pave
put a
the damn
sidewalk.
thing. Yeah.
Right.
Right.
Like they leave the path that looks
Yeah.
horrible.
Yeah.
Just put a sidewalk there.
Put a sidewalk
Solve
there.
It's
solve the
it's
problem.
charming. Can
Yeah.
I have
Yes.
another question
Yes.
for you, Nina? I want to transition
Yep.
to specifically to how the ghosts of these memories impact your client's relationship with their attorneys. And I think that's an important thing because I want people who are listening to be able to see themselves in how they think about what they're living through and what they're fighting for and get your perspective on that.
Well, my first response to that is um, don't deal with those conversations and those memories and those thoughts with your attorney because that's an expensive therapy session.
I would agree.
That's what the
I
divorce
knew it.
coach is for. That is
Yeah.
why you have to talk to someone who can, like, let's just get through all the mud so that when
And-
you talk to your attorney, the mud's gone. Like you're clear of it. You might have
And
some residue on you, but that's it.
and
Go
this
ahead.
doesn't look sometimes, when you're talking to clients, if you're, I think, doing the analysis properly, what is your reasoning, the underlying reasoning for wanting to keep the house? I want to keep the house. That's positional. What's the underlying reasoning? So I'll ask those questions
Yeah.
because in a relatively short conversation, we can work on discussing those underlying reasonings. And then sometimes they're like, look, it's a great house. Everything's perfect for the kids. It's in a great school district. So, okay, can we afford the house? Yes or no? Then we talk about that. Okay, does you understand that means you're going to have less retirement? Yes. So you're putting your value for your retirement in the housing market, not in the stock market, so to speak. So,
Right.
but you
Oh,
can
yeah.
have those conversations. And I would tell you the biggest thing about a house or any other asset, be flexible because if you get one asset, you're not going to get the other. So
Right.
just be flexible in how you approach it. And it's much easier to settle a case when you have people that are flexible as opposed to tied into positions. The positional is what gets very difficult and very expensive. Right.
Yeah. And you have to get out of that stuck. Like,
Right.
don't stick your feet so much into the ground that you're not going to move on anything. I always tell my
Where do you
clients,
find they get the most clogged, Nanette? Right? Like what are the things that I imagine it's the house, right? That'll be a first one.
the house.
Cars, like
No, it's house finances, but the kids, like custody time.
Sure.
That's that. But that's when a parenting coach comes in.
yeah.
I don't believe that. I don't believe that that's where your attorney should make decisions or help you start making decisions. So, 10 years ago, I always say, a good thing I don't keep track anymore how long I've been divorced, but I wished I would have had a parenting coach. I didn't know they existed. I did many
Yeah.
things.
Did they
incorrectly.
exist 10 years ago? It seems like that's kind of a new thing.
I
Yeah.
don't know.
But you just
I don't
got to also
know.
be careful. And
Yeah.
I'm not, we've had divorce coaches on before, and I think there's a valuable
Mhm.
service. It's being careful that, and I know you don't do this, but you can't do the unlicensed practice of law. You can't start telling them
Oh.
this is what you should do or anything like
Yeah.
that. That's not the rule.
100%.
And you also
Yeah.
can't, you got to make sure that there's clear, not you, but the client and the lawyer need to make sure there's clear communication. And, we've had people come in and say, I'm working with a divorce coach. I said, okay, here's my boundaries. Don't
Mhm.
talk to them about anything that we talk about because you break the attorney-client privilege. There's no divorce coach privilege. right?
Right.
So
Yeah.
anything you say to your divorce coach is coming into evidence if you have a litigious case. So
Right.
just have to be
Right.
careful
Right.
about that,
Yeah.
and what you do. But there's certainly a value in, look, it's the same. And I'm not like, you can talk to your friends, but I tell people, be careful what you say to your friends, because now you make
Yeah.
them witnesses, right? So we just
Absolutely.
have to be
Yep.
cautious. But
Right.
look, the more you can get through the process and talk it through, and quicker the
Right.
better.
Right. So my attorney, not my attorney, one of my clients hired an attorney that I recommended. He's an acquaintance, a friend. And he said to me, obviously we don't talk about her case, but he said it was really refreshing because by the time she hired him and started working with him, he said, I could tell she had already worked through a lot of the
Yes.
emotions.
Oh, that's
And she
awesome.
had, oh my God, when he said that to me, I'm like, oh my goodness, Max, thank you. That makes me feel
That's so
like
ideal.
that's what I've accomplished,
Yeah.
what I set out to do. And the other thing I want to address too is that was one of my big things is I stay in my lane. If my clients ask me something legal, I will say, well, I understand, or maybe this, each state is different, but I'm not going to give you any legal advice. My whole thing is I want them to be prepared with their questions. I want them to already have talked to a financial advisor and know and have a good idea of what they're going to end up with, so that when they sit with their attorney, just the facts, Jack. The
Yeah.
tissues are,
Yeah.
we don't need tissues anymore. We know what we're going to talk about.
Right.
So that's my big plug on that.
I love it. I feel like this is a great way to just reframe that relationship, that you have a particular role in helping people who are going through a divorce clear out the ghosts, stop listening to the third character. So by the time they sit down with Seth, they don't need to even have those conversations. It is a great reminder. I hope people listening see themselves a little bit in this conversation. And as we get to wrapping up, Nanette, where do you want to send people to learn more about your work, your process? How can we teach people about how you teach people?
You can find me at livelifenowwithpurpose.com. Everything about me is in there. What I offer, my resources, I help people, women, getting prepared for divorce. I want to walk through them on the journey. And then ultimately I do go through a healing process with them. And I have another, resources for that as well. It's a long journey. It's a long journey. And it's even longer if you do it by yourself. Ask me, I know.
That's true.
For sure.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for being here, for sharing your wisdom.
Thank you.
And it's great to meet you. Great to have you. And you are working on your own podcast. Do you want to plug that, or do we want to just keep it real quiet?
No, I can plug it. I mean, it's like I said, unfortunately, it's at a pause right now, but it's called Second Act: Navigating Gray Divorce. I have about 8 to 12 episodes on YouTube, Spotify, all of those lines, and I'm going to pick it up where I left off, hopefully in August. But it's just really about who you should hire, why you should hire them, what order to hire them in, and everything in between.
Perfect.
Yeah,
Second Act. Check it out wherever you get your finer podcasts, and it's easy to catch up on. You can binge the whole thing so far. Get to it before August. Thank you so much, Nanette Murphy. Links in the show notes. And thank you, Seth Nelson.
Thanks, Seth.
America's favorite divorce attorney. On behalf of the whole team here, I'm Pete Wright, and we'll see you next week right here on How to Split a Toaster, a divorce podcast about saving your relationships.
Thank you.
Stop.